Hi everyone, this is a sped up version of my painting. So this original painting was 45 minutes long, so I sped this up to 15 minutes. So in this 15 minutes, I'm just gonna chat with you all and let you know what's going on with this painting and kind of my thought process and just hang out. So right now I'm making the background for this painting. So I chose kind of like a darker color palette for this part. I'm like, can't talk color. I said color so weird. Making a darker color palette. I chose like some blacks and dark blues because I wanted this picture, like the idea of this is kind of like space. So I wanted some of those blacks and blues and keeping it a little bit darker. So that way when I add the stars later on, it will really pop. So right now I'm adding swatches too. So normally I just add like a little blob of color for each swatch, but this time I tried something different. I wanted to kind of see what these colors would look like blended together to make sure they look good. So since I'm really only using blue, I just wanted to make sure that I had enough value of like light and dark to really make it look good. So these are my swatches. And then I'm setting up my next layers of clouds. So I'm gonna start by sketching in kind of some of the values of the clouds. So I'll start with some blue, and then I like to add white first because I just have it like hard ingrained in me to preserve the white from watercolor painting. And so it's kind of just my style to like add the white first. So that's what I'm doing here, is kind of making the shape of what I think these clouds should look like. So I kind of want movement and want to make it look dynamic. So I'm adding just like blotches of white here and there to make it look interesting. I just don't want like the normal cartoony cloud shapes that you see like on kids' pajamas and stuff. I want it to look like it's moving in space and super cool. So I just messed around until I found this shape that I liked, and then I'm starting to add like a little bit more color to this. So oh yeah, and also I was thinking like 15 minutes is a really long time to be talking in a voiceover, so I might just like say a few things here and there like about my day or like my week. I'm not really sure how often I'll do these yet, so I just want to kind of test and see like how it goes. Like, is it exhausting to talk for 15 minutes? I don't know. I'm not really much of a talker like this, to be honest, so this is something new for me. But just kind of want to chat. And also, like, I was thinking about this while I was making this painting. So some of you might be, well, you might have heard about like the Adobe news. So Adobe added to their terms and conditions, like they're allowed to use anything you make basically with Adobe, their product, to train their AI model. And so a lot of people are really upset about this, like understandably so. I'm upset about it. But the reason I use Photoshop is because this is what the tool that I'm like most familiar with. This is what I used when I was in college. And when I first learned how to like paint digitally, this is the software that I use. So I really need to like take it upon myself to learn a new software so I can cancel my subscription and get on board with this kind of like, I don't know if you would call it a boycott, but you know, just sending Adobe a message that, hey, like, we don't want you to train your AI model using our talent and our work. It's really crazy. So, I mean, there's a lot of that going on. I know AI is a huge thing right now, like training the AI models. And right now, like in Mid-Journey, you can pretty much ask it to make any sort of painting emulating any sort of artist. Like, if you can think it, it will make it. So that is really nuts. So thinking about like all the artists that are using the software, if you're like, okay, you can use my art to train your AI model, like that's a big deal, because if it gets enough data, like you can pretty much like automatically generate any sort of painting in any sort of style from any sort of artist, and it essentially like replaces humans. So I think that will happen like kind of inevitably. Like, you can't stop this. Like, you can say, okay, I'm not going to contribute to Adobe's AI model, but there are other AI models out there that will just steal your work, which is super controversial. And, you know, there aren't a lot of like laws or anything yet regulating this type of stuff. And so I know like Elon Musk is like pushing for regulation for this, but I think, you know, it's already happening, and it happened so quickly that, you know, they have the data. They're able to, like, if you go on Midjourney right now and you're like, okay, I really admire this artist and I want to do like a painting like of an ice cream cone or something, like, and emulate this artist, it will do it, and it will give you like 4 versions, and then you can pick from those, and then you can just keep like drilling down until it's like perfectly what you envisioned in the style of an artist, and you don't even have to have like any artistic skills. And then people are like selling this stuff too, so that's pretty crazy. I don't know how I got on this tangent about like AI art, but yeah, I just wanted to explain like why I'm using Adobe. So just know like I will be trying to learn new software soon, but I need to like educate myself like what's even out there, because when I was like in college, it was a long time ago, let me tell you. So it was over over 10 years. So yeah, I need to learn what's out there. At the time when I was like graduating, there was like maybe like Corel Draw. I don't even know if that's like still a thing. So I just need to see what's out there. And if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments, please, and I'll look into it. And I'll actually make a new video like trying to like learn the software. So anyway, in this point in my painting, I'm just adding some like light values and dark values. So I'm kind of like starting in the top left of my painting and then going almost like clockwise, or if you do like 4 quadrants, I'm in the like top right quadrant now, and then moving my way like a little bit lower. So for me, like, I know there's a couple different ways of painting where like you can add all the values at once, so you can like go through your whole painting and add like all the light values and then all the dark values. But what I like to do is just kind of like work in quadrants, because then I can like see, okay, this looks cool. I didn't think of that when, you know, I was working on this other part of my painting. So I like to work in the quadrants so that way I can like be more creative and fun with it, like, and come up with new ideas as I work through it, instead of just adding all the values at once. Like, oh, I used the white paint and now I'm putting the white paint away. Like if you're using traditional media or something, normally like you'd run out of the paint. So you have to kind of like use that color all at once before it dries up. So since I'm painting digitally, I just like to play around with it and like revisit all the colors and just use them and have fun with it. So I've been digitally painting a little bit more because it's just really fun. I really also like, I enjoy painting with acrylic paints, but I also like just playing around digitally because it's so cool. Like whatever you can think of, like you can make it. And I think that's just so interesting. I mean, sometimes like I feel like my artistic skills are not where like my mind is at with the idea, but if you keep practicing, you know, you'll be great at whatever you decide to do. So here I am practicing. It's been like probably almost the whole week of digital painting. So I've done like a series of clouds, and my other paintings I used mostly like rainbow colors, because when I paint, I love using like all of the colors. I don't like just using like one flat color palette. Like this time I'm using like mostly only blues. Like there's a little bit of purplish in this and a little bit of gray, but the reason that I did this is because I'm like, oh, okay, well, it will be easier to just paint using only blue instead of like using rainbow for everything, because pretty much I do rainbow like every single painting. I just love that kind of look. And so this is a little bit different for me, but it still ended up taking 45 whole minutes. So I'm like, oh gosh, it took so long. And I like to normally paint when I'm painting like this. I like to paint, you know, try for like an hour. Oh yeah, you just saw my browser because like I fat finger all the keys. So that's what that was, if you just saw that on the screen. But yeah, I normally like try to aim for like an hour, because I do have a newborn baby, and just getting the time to like feed her and take care of her. So I have a newborn and then I have a 1-year-old. So yeah, like just having a whole hour is a privilege. So I try to keep it short so that way I can like still paint, and then I can like edit the video and put something out. And it does take like quite a bit of time to edit the videos and things. So that's why I try to say like, okay, I'll dedicate an hour of my time and see what I can come up with. So this one was 45 minutes, which is pretty good. It's like longer than some of my others. Like my rainbow one took maybe, like if you've seen the last couple days, my rainbow paintings took pretty much like an hour and 15 minutes or so. So it took a while. Yeah. And okay, so this part in the painting, I stopped talking about the painting, but I am trying out different brushes here. So I'm trying to soften the edges of the clouds here, so that way it looks more interesting. So normally, like when you paint, you can, like traditional painting, you can have different brushes, and you can have like, I use this brush for hair. So like some people like get their like brushes in real life and just like smash them, and so that way like all the bristles are spread out, and then they use it for certain textures like trees or hair, that sort of thing. But like with digital painting, you're not limited to just like one brush, right? You have like unlimited brushes. So I play around and like I see like what the default brushes are, and like I try to also like play with them and then customize them to like how I enjoy using them. So you'll see me using a couple different brushes here that are like the default out of the box brushes. It's like Kyle's brush or something it's called. And I'm like, when I first saw it, I'm like, who's Kyle? And like, can I use this brush for free? So I try to like take the brush and change it a little bit, so that way I'm not using somebody's like, default brush, something they came up with. Like the brush is super amazing though. If you do see it, I think it's like a default in Photoshop that you'll see right there. But yeah, next I'm adding the stars, and how I do this is like I'll find a brush that looks like really interesting, like a lot of texture, but also like paint splatter kind of, and just add that in. And I try to do like little clumps, like star clusters, like galaxies was what I was thinking anyway in my mind. And so I'll do like little patches of like more stars and less stars, so that way it's like more dynamic. And then I go in with the eraser and I erase out some parts, so that way it's not like straight up just texture, like when you're painting a wall and then you spray the texture on, if you know what I'm saying. Like I want it to look more dynamic and interesting, so I erase some of that away. And then this next part, I'm going to be adding some of the sparkle, like the shine that comes with the stars. So you'll see me adding that there, and like it takes me a couple of passes because sometimes when I do this, I feel like it looks like a bug and it's really gross. So I'll try to get rid of that and like erase it out and like redo it a couple times so it doesn't look like a spider or anything. And I want it to look like whimsical and soft. And looking at this now, like it could have added like maybe a little bit more of a glow to those like little stars. Well, not the little ones, like the big ones, the planets. So thinking like maybe I'll go in and change that later, but that was my thought process like while I was doing it. And you'll see me messing around with like some of the glow and the effects for the layer. I was thinking like, oh, I'll have it look really interesting because this is space, right? So I'll give it a weird like glow. But at the end of the day, I thought like, okay, that doesn't look quite how I wanted it to. So I ended up like messing with it for a while. You can see me doing that there. And then eventually like turning the layer off. So you'll see at the very end, I turned it off and I keep it plain. And I decided to add like a couple more splotches of stars just to keep it interesting. So this is a different brush than that brush I was just using for the original star clusters that I did. So just adding a little bit of interesting texture for the final touches. And then you'll see at the very end in a couple seconds here, I'll show you what the final painting looks like. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and so I'll try to do more videos like this in the future. So if you can, please give me a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.